This is Tom Scott's Podcast Express. Conversations about music, movies, politics, art, and a whole lot more with some of Tom's very special friends. Without further ado, here's Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom Scott. My guest today is an accomplished singer, guitarist, and songwriter. He has been described as a living link to the seminal Delta blues that traveled up the Mississippi River and across America. His songs are a synthesis of many influences: blues, folk, rock, jazz, pop, and country. He is a 5-time Grammy winner and 12-time Grammy nominee. He's recorded and performed in the company of great musicians, including Bonnie Raitt, Jackson Browne, Dr. John, Papa John Creech, Taj Mahal, Big Joe Turner, Buddy Guy, Eric Clapton, and the cast of Sesame Street. He was, for a time, a staff songwriter at A&M Records. His songs have been recorded by Zac Brown, Amy Grant, Jack Jones, B.B. King, and many others. He also sang the opening theme for the TV comedy Mike and Molly, and composed and sang the theme for a new CBS comedy called Be Positive. It is my pleasure to say hello to Kevin Moore, better known as Keb Mo. Welcome.
Thank you, man.
You grew up in Los Angeles, and both your parents came from the South. Did that have an influence on the music you first heard in your parents' house?
At the time, I didn't know that it did. But when I look back, yes, it did. Because it wasn't like a music house where there was like records. There wasn't many records. I think we got a stereo system when I was a teenager.
Do you remember any of the artists that you listened to back then?
Yeah, the main artists I always remember listening to, and this might be weird, man, because I was a weird kid.
It's all right.
Mongo Santa Maria.
I knew him, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah. He was fun.
Mongo Santa Maria.
That's right.
Yeah. And I listened to whatever records they had, like a Johnny Mathis record, Nat King Cole record, Arthur Prysock, and my sister's 45s, which was all the hits that would come out. So she would buy 45s, and she actually she was a teenager and she had a little money because she was babysitting. So she'd go buy 45s and, Temptations, a lot of different stuff, all that stuff.
Yeah. I was a 45 guy too in my early years. So you took up the guitar at a pretty early age, right?
I took up guitar at 12. Yeah, I was taught by my uncle Herman. Herman was the late Herman Wyatt, and who passed a couple of years ago at the age of 88. Yeah, he taught me, just start teaching me guitar play, not against my will, but he just kind of told me, okay, I'm going to teach you guitar now. Here you go.
So you didn't have a say in it, really?
No, but I welcomed it. I wasn't going like, no, I don't want to play the guitar. Yeah, I'll try that. I was kind of a gullible kid, I would just kind of say, okay, I'll do that. I wasn't really a rebellious child,
Right. So at that point, did he turn you on to other guitarists, other records of guitar players? And who might they be?
He taught me a C chord, a G chord, an F chord on a 2-week vacation up to Cupertino, California in 1963. And then he taught me how to play Jamaica Farewell and sing it.
Wow. That was the sum total of your education.
And I finger picked it. And then by the time of 2 weeks, all I did was sit around with the guitar all day while he went to work. And he showed me what to do, and I finger picked the guitar and got my hands all numb and everything. And then I
Was it a steel string or a steel string then?
It was nylon string.
Nylon string. Oh.
Yeah. And so when I got back home there to LA, back to Compton, California, I begged my father for a guitar. Eventually, he got me a $25 guitar from where, Sears and Roebuck.
Absolutely. The ultimate musical instrument outlet.
Then I was on my way to my next step.
Yeah. Which was?
Just having the guitar and starting to learn and explore and trying to figure out what to do with it. While at the same time, I was playing steel drums in a steel band. So, it was like the guitar kind of rode alongside the steel band, and the high school band, I was playing Finch horn, so
Oh, okay? So you were doing right. A few different
Once again,
musical.
all those things were, hey, you want to be in the band? I'll take you to be the band leader. We need another French horn player. So I
Right.
went there and
Right.
just, okay, here you go.
I get you. I totally get you. You didn't choose French horn. French horn chose you. I suppose you could put it that
I
way.
had some of the universe had to get me into music some kind of way.
Right. That's right.
There's
Well,
the door right there. We can get him in that marching band right there and get him a French
uh,
horn.
I know it well. So this thing about steel drum, this interests me because steel drums have a great sound. I've always loved them. I performed a few times with one of the great steel drummers, Robert Greenidge, who has been in Jimmy Buffett's band for years.
Wow.
The instrument makes absolutely no sense to me in its layout because like imagine taking the bars on say a vibraphone, throwing them up in the air so they land completely randomly. That's how the notes are laid out on a steel drum. Why did you choose the steel drum and how long did it take you to learn?
I didn't choose the steel drum. My friend Carlos, his dad made the steel drums. Carlos came down
Oh,
and said, hey man, come check out this. And he took me into his garage and there was a bunch of steel drums in there. I had no initiative for music whatsoever. In fifth grade, my mother said, I said, she said, you want to be in the band at school? I said, no. She said, well, you gonna? And I went down and put me on the trumpet.
that's
I mean, most
fantastic.
people were like kind of like reluctant and kind of like, but I really wasn't that ambitious. You
That
know,
is amazingly wonderful. What a great story.
I just wasn't very aggressive and very ambitious. But I loved music, and I loved it so much that I kept doing it. And
Right.
people kept calling me to come work. So,
So there
oh,
you go. Right.
okay,
Okay. Oh
money.
man,
You
that's too funny.
know,
So that was your first and last gig as a steel drummer?
I worked from some steel drum from age 11 all the way through to probably 19.
Oh wow. Oh, that's quite a while. Wow.
Steel
So
drum.
could you play fast passages on the steel drum?
I could play the songs, and I learned how to improvise on the steel drum.
You did. Wow,
Yeah,
that's saying a lot.
like this. And I knew the songs that they taught me, and I learned like kind of like about chords and harmony and mostly rhythm, you
Right.
know, because there was congas and there was it was kind of like drum. There's a drummer, conga player, and percussionist that played the bongo, congo. I just became enamored with the percussion in the whole thing.
Right. And the beat in that band was quite strong, I'm sure.
So I learned how to play drums. I learned how to play congas, and I learned how to play the bongos and all those little hand percussion instruments. And about all,
So this interests me because you're saying you didn't really push yourself, but these things just sort of came to you and you embraced them.
yeah, I just said, okay, let's go because I still wanted something to do. I wasn't interested in sports.
So following the steel drum gig, so you were 19 at that point.
Mhm.
Were you already working on other gigs on guitar, or did
Well,
you?
I started in my senior year in high school. I got invited to be in this band that was formed out of the marching band. There was a guitar player in the jazz band named Stanley, and the drum major was a saxophone player, Emerson Holliday, and James Speed, my friends. And they invited me to come play in their band because they wanted a rhythm guitar player. Stanley played the lead guitar. They needed a rhythm. They wanted two guitars, and they couldn't give anybody else. They knew I had a guitar. And I guess they watched me go in the band and learn how to play French horn, and in 3 years become the first French horn player. So,
Well, that's an indication of something going on.
I just went home and practiced. I mean, the other guys wouldn't. They had girlfriends.
Ah,
I
right.
didn't have a girlfriend.
Girls were not interesting to me. Saxophone was interesting to me. Jazz was Coltrane and Cannonball were Stan Getz and Benny Goodman. They were interesting. That's funny.
I would. So they figured I was musical enough. So they invited me to
Right.
be in the band, and Stan had just got a new guitar. He had a super reverb amp,
Wow.
Bill Starfire, and a dime store guitar that was a Tesla that I played.
Uh-huh.
So I played the dime store, and he played the software. We both plugged into the super reverb.
Right. Sure. And but the good news for you, I mean, in that sense, because you had already played, you were intimately acquainted with playing rhythm from the band, your band
All
experience.
guys were good at rhythm, and also I knew all those guys. All of us knew each other. We hung out.
Ah,
There was a lot of trust and a lot of camaraderie between us.
Right.
So as the songs went by, Stanley just showed me the chords and what to play, and they had me play all the backbeats and all the little ching-a-ling stuff, you know.
Right, sure.
I had a lot of rhythm, no knowledge, just a lot of rhythm, you know.
That knowledge, rhythm is knowledge in a very big sense.
So I was playing in that band the senior year. So I kept playing in the steel band, and that band probably stayed into existence maybe a year after high school, tooling around. And then that band merged into another band, which became the band that eventually got me to playing with Papa John Creech.
Nice.
You know?
Nice. What a influential gentleman he was. I used to hear about him from, well, Paul McCartney was a big fan, and others have talked about him.
You know, so I was walking, he was walking down the street and heard us play at our little rehearsal place that we had on Adams Boulevard. And he walked in and hired us.
Wow, on the spot. Wow.
Yeah, we did that Filthy Funky album, that album he did on Grunt Records. It was like, I just can't believe how lucky I was, even though, and how stupid I was at the same time.
The folly of youth, you know.
Like, what I was kind of like a Mr. Magoo. You know what, Mr. Magoo?
Sure.
He was blind. He just going around everywhere. He couldn't hardly see straight, and he just always about to get killed at any moment. That's me.
And somehow avoid it. Yeah.
Mr. Magoo.
Oh my God. I know that you were playing guitars in various clubs around LA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And a gentleman, a mutual friend of ours at the time, Chuck Trammell, who was an engineer at A&M, approached you, correct?
Yes. Right out on La Brea in front of A&M.
Oh my God. Wow.
I don't know, I was walking down the street, he ran into me. You know what I mean?
But he knew who you were. He'd seen you play, obviously.
Well, we were Buddhists. He was a Buddhist and I was a Buddhist, you know?
Oh.
So he was there and he was like, so he came in, he said, hey man, and I was playing with his stepson. I guess it was stepson. It was the time a guy who was a drummer, and Chuck was dating his mom.
Oh, really? Okay.
The young drummer kid was kind of like, he formed a band, and he asked me to play in this band, and I wasn't doing anything because it was after Papa John. It was after everything. I hadn't put nothing. I think I was delivering. I think I had a messenger job at that point, So.
Right.
And he asked me, "Oh, you come play in the band, man?" And I said, "Oh, okay." Then we started playing army bases. We started playing.
Oh, did you? Yeah, sure.
Playing army bases, those army base gigs and stuff, and Marine bases and stuff.
The good thing about that is those are federal checks, so that they're sure to clear.
Yeah, no, they cleared. Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah.
So Chuck brought me in. At that time, I was writing songs too, at home stuff. So
on your own, you just started. Now, how did you start writing songs? What prompted you to do that?
Well, after the Papa John Creech gig was over, I figured, well, okay, what am I going to do now? I said, I guess I better start. So I got a job after my unemployment ran out. I got a job delivering flowers. I was going out with this girl, and her uncle owned a flower shop, and she got me a job delivering flowers.
Right. Now, you said when I thought I was meeting you for the first time in the studio a few weeks ago when we did a project together. You told me that we'd actually encountered each other prior to that.
Yeah.
And would you mind relaying that story once more?
Well, the first time I met you, you were laying on the couch in the lobby of A&M Records sleep. And you brought me what was that? The electronic saxophone.
The Lyricon.
Lyricon. You brought the Lyricon with you.
Right.
And you got about this thing. Said, okay, we went there. So we're ready for you. Chuck went and got you, woke you up off the couch, and went in and you did your solo. And you probably did about one, and you probably took about a half a take to do it, I think. Brilliant, of course. And I'm like going because I had seen you play at the Roxy. I had seen you. I had seen you. I knew who you were.
Right. And was it a project of Chuck's or what? Do you remember what it was? Was it
demos?
Demos. Oh, okay.
We're doing demos.
Okay. Were they your songs?
No, I was helping Chuck. I was like the right-hand man of Chuck doing the demo squad there.
Okay,
I would write all
gotcha.
the charts. I would write the charts. I would get the song ready. I would call the musicians.
Is that what led to because you became a staff writer at A&M, right?
That was the door into that.
Right, right. And was that a good experience? A&M was a good place to hang out. I know
Well,
that.
it was a good experience. I didn't get many covers. I might have got two, and nothing happened with those, you know.
Yeah,
I got the experience of writing and co-writing with some of the people there, and I got a shot.
right. I'm telling you, I know, man. A shot.
I
Exactly
got a
right.
shot. You know, I didn't hit anything, but I got a shot. Yeah.
It's all right. You were on your way by that time.
But I got a lot of experience because during that time at A&M, that was the heyday. To me, in my opinion, that was the heyday of analog recording.
It was indeed. You're right.
That was the highest degree of recording in the 70s and the early 80s when the records that came out there were just fantastic.
You're right.
You know, so I was in the middle of a great era. So, and I got to sit around. Chuck brought me in, and a guy named Ellis Sorkin was an engineer,
Sure.
and I would be there. So we were making demos, but we were actually making records. We would go in, we do the tracks. Next day was overdubs. The next day we would mix, and whether I was working on anything or not, I would come in every day into
Right.
the mix. You know,
Right.
I'm not getting paid, but I came in no matter what.
Right. Demos or not, that is record production, what you guys were doing.
Yeah, and we were in Studio B, which is one of the major great studios.
Totally great. That was Carole King's studio where she did Tapestry and Cheech and Chong used that. That was a famous. Joni was in there. Famous room.
As a favorite. So every morning before the real session started, we were in there mixing and/or cutting demos.
Right.
So
right.
so I would meet. I mean, sometimes James Gatson would come play drums, and
Nice.
you know somebody I know in a long time, Gerald Albright.
He's a great cat.
I know him since he was a baby.
Really?
Baby.
Oh man.
We went to the same church in Watts, the Beulah Baptist Church.
Oh no kidding.
My mom and his mom was good friends, and my mom did her hair for many years.
Wow. Oh man. That's awesome. That's awesome. So from that, I mean, I guess it comes down to something happened where you started to become known as an artist, in your own right. How did that happen?
Through A&M after that, and then after that, I got a record. Shortly after I met you, I think during that time when we did that Jimmy Cliff record, I don't know if you remember, where Nathan East came in. I remember Nathan East came in. He was just in town, and he came in, and Gene Page was the arranger on it. We're doing this Jimmy Cliff record. Charles Fearing was on guitar. Ed Green was on drum. Paulino Da Costa, and I forgot who was on keyboards. I don't remember. You know, and I was on the guitar because I had played on the demos on the Jimmy Cliff stuff, and they liked what I did.
Right. So you demoed your way into a gig, really?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I got a lot of shots and several shots on being a full-fledged session guy, but you know, I think there were so many guys that were so better readers, quicker, better gear.
You know what? I'm sure in terms of your feel and ability, I'm sure you could have done it, but that's the thing. You got to be an instant reader as well.
Yeah.
And some guys are more interested in that than others. I mean, I get it, believe me.
Yeah. But on that gig, and I met everybody. It's like I rode along in a sidecar. I wasn't riding a motorcycle, but I was in the sidecar riding along, all this great music being made. And I was learning how all that stuff was done over in A&M. So I got a break in A. My record in 1980 on Chocolate City Records didn't go very well, but now it's a collector's item.
Of course.
Rainmaker, you know?
There's a Japanese pressing for $500 probably out there somewhere.
I mean, it's something else. But you know, I kept going. Then there was the 80s weren't all that bright. I had to start completely over in the 80s.
Why was that?
Well, because I did that record and I did it in the producer. The thing is, everybody thought like, well, we should call you got a record deal now, you should call the studio guys.
Right, sure.
You know what I mean? And also I started to doubt my sense of what I knew, and I let everybody else tell me what to do.
right.
And I knew totally what to do. I had faith in my people that were around me, and kind of like that.
Sure.
But I had gotten myself to that point. I really had gotten myself to that point. But when I got to the point, I realized, I said, well, so I learned that lesson pretty good,
Good.
And so now I'm like 31, it's kind of like, oh, you're not,
Yeah. Time is marching on here.
Yeah.
Right.
And so now I'm married, I got, married and all kind of stuff and things and stuff like that. And I'm out there, I got no gigs. So all the guys, all my friends were mad at me because none of them got to play on the record. But I did meet Ricky Lawson on that record because he had just gotten to town and Ricky Lawson played drums on the record. Ricky Lawson, Giovanni Collier, Greg Matheson.
Oh, shoot.
Great session. Even like I got to work with Caleb Quay from Elton.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow.
Bill Champlin and Carmen Grillo. And goes, I did the backgrounds. It was all these guys. It was a great lineup of players. The Sea Wind Horns,
Perfect.
All the people were there. The only person that was missing was me.
Ironic, isn't it? Oh my Lord.
Had that really happened, I couldn't have done what I can do now.
Yeah.
Now I've learned to trust myself.
Right.
Listen and really pay attention to what's going on around me. And the results are really great because I learned how to stay true to myself and my vision and trust my instincts and my heart.
That is, that is such an important lesson for all of us to benefit from. That is, you could bend yourself in a pretzel trying to please other people, do what other people think you ought to be doing. Yeah. But in the end, your best interest will be served by doing what you feel. And you're going to have some people say, good idea. Others say, all right, what are you kidding me? Every possible spectrum of opinion will be expressed.
So I learned a whole bunch through my flops and things. So anyway, in the 80s when I started, getting a straight job, and I literally started, and the first gig I landed on was probably 1983, somewhere around there. Yes. I got a gig with the Who Done It Band, playing every Monday night, a blues band at Marla's Memory Lane on Martin Luther King in Arlington.
I remember Memory Lane, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I was playing with Charlie Tuna, Monk Higgins.
Monk, oh my God.
Monk Higgins put the thing together. And got Charles Dennis, who ended up being B.B. King's guitar player till the end, later on. Gerald Albright played the bass.
Oh, that's right. He was a bass player. I forgot that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Ron Mercy Kersey, who wrote Disco Inferno, was the keyboard player.
Wow.
It was really great. Well, he came in later. We didn't have a keyboard player, it was just two guitars. And Monk Higgins and Charlie, because it was a blues band, they took me under they actually took me under my wing and showed me how the blues is, they would laugh at me at first because like I had this like session guy mentality with all the other dirty stuff that they do. I would clean it up. You can go like this kind of man, and I clean it up, make it sound slick. And
yes.
They say, "Oh, look at you! You're doing all that pretty stuff."
That's so funny! Oh my God!
So I started listening. I paid attention, and every Monday, sometimes Sunday and Monday, I got a master's class in the blues.
Right.
That's where my shit started.
That was the beginning of the quote unquote big break, then I guess.
But then at the same time, like I had a whole decade or more of experience starting back from when I was like 11, playing gigs in the steel band, playing in orchestra. I knew how to write. The thing is really weird too, because I could write music, but I couldn't read it back.
Not alone in that, sure.
I remember doing horn sections. They said, I read a horn, I'd write a horn, arrange it out, transpose it out, and go in there and put it out and fucking pray. I knew my notation.
Right.
I knew what key all the instruments was in.
Right.
I wrote a bass part, I knew bass clef. So I came in, I had knowledge of like harmony. I had studied at what was formerly GIT, which was
yes, Guitar Institute of Technology, right?
A&M.
Right.
And it was when Howard Roberts and Joe Diorio were
Tommy Tedesco, right?
Yeah, those guys were teaching at
the
thing. So I was studying with Joe Diorio at the Guitar Institute, and so I really laid a groundwork of knowledge for. And I did 2 years at LA City College. I was in the choir there. I took 2 years, two piano 1, piano 2, and I took music theory. I had this class called music analyzation.
Wow.
We had to analyze Bach.
See, this is really interesting to me because, you've got a well-deserved reputation as this kind of, blues advanced guy, with all this. But there's a reason for that, because you have this broad variety of musical experience in all these areas that all come down to now you focus into what you want to do, and you've got all these tools.
I can almost jump into any popular music genre and play it. And also one other thing I used to do. I know you knew David Blumberg, right?
Absolutely, a great arranger, pop arranger, nice guy.
David Blumberg was a real good friend of mine. David Blumberg, I would go over his house and he would give me a bunch of charts of sessions that had already been done. And the guitar parts.
Right.
And I would take the parts home and pull out the records, put the chart out, and look at it. And then sometimes the notes would be the notes on the charts and and I learned how to not get lost on the chart.
Right, that's a very valuable asset.
Well, I knew a lot of stuff was going by, and I could read a little bit, and I knew what was down there. And there was a lot of repetitive things, and I learned how to like go through and, try to get the DSL coda, the thing back.
Right, the format. Yeah.
And listen to what was actually played on the record, and actually what was on the chart. So I got this really sense of how sessions go down.
Right.
It's a metaphysical form of I learned how to follow like Casey Musgrave would say, follow your arrow. You got to get something, follow your arrow.
Sure.
I just followed my thing. And at some point in my late 30s, I started to get really ambitious. And I started to really want a career and want to stay in this.
So desire really culminated at that point in your life.
Yeah.
Strong desire to.
All of a sudden I said, okay, I'm in. It's too late to get out now. I'm use up all my good years. Where's this going to end up? Who knows?
Yeah.
Meet somewhere. Okay, let's do that.
Oh my God. So then obviously that led to a series of successes for you.
What that did was all my training and all of my experiences from when I was 10 years old, first starting out on the trumpet, to going to the guitar, going to the French horn, and all that stuff, into the steel, all that stuff culminated in and even studying the blues. I mean, I did a big blues study. I mean, the Delta and all the Robert Johnson, Mississippi John Hurd, Blind Willie Johnson, when you had BB and all that stuff, all of a sudden I had this huge toolbox of musical stuff to draw from.
Yes, you did.
And when you added a little bit of determination, things really started happening for me. And I didn't get better, but I started to sound different. I think what happened was when I got a fire in my belly about really just enjoying music, not trying to, it wasn't even about making, it was about every time when I show up, I want things to be great. I want to be a positive force in the world. I want to when I make a sound, I want to mean it, and I want people to feel it, and And that point, people started listening to me.
Right, right. You're thinking about the audience. You're taking all these tools and then projecting them onto something that the audience will feel.
And these clubs I was playing in where people were just coming in to get drunk and pick up chicks, all of a sudden became a concert venue. I remember I was playing at Harvell's in Santa Monica down on 4th Street.
Uh-huh.
And I look up one day at the bar, and I looked up, I was just playing, and I looked up and the whole place was standing there looking at me like this.
Really?
And I was
just glued to you. Yeah.
What the fuck just you know?
Yes.
And I'm monitoring all this, but really, you know, when I tell people, and it's something that you can't fake. You can't fake it. You can't go, okay, now I'm determined.
It has to come from within.
It has to come from you, and you can talk about it. And some people get it when they're very young, when they're 9 years old, like Michael Jackson had it when he was 11 years old.
Right.
You know?
Sure.
Some people get it when the Beatles had it at 21, 23. Some people get it when they're later on in their 40s, 50s,
Absolutely.
60s. But when it happens, it's universal. And what the music industry has to offer you, whether they're looking at you or not, has nothing to do with them. Now it's you and your universe.
Right.
It's you and the laws of nature taking you where you need to go. And if you're ready, it'll get you there.
Right. I gotcha. Now, you mentioned Robert Johnson earlier, and he is a very important, for anybody who knows anything about the blues, this man is generally considered, you know, if not the father, certainly one of the founding fathers of what we know today as a blues, classic blues. And I'd love to know about his influence in your life, but also the fact that you got to portray him in a documentary, and that must have been a thrill. It's called Can't You Hear the Wind Howl? Fantastic.
Here's what happened. I started playing the blues and Marla's and all through a lot of the 80s. And I kind of started, you know, I started getting, after a few years, I started getting gigs again, you know. But I kept this blues thing going. I just kind of kept it going. And then I became the guy you could call for a wedding, you know, or for a thing like those kind of corporate bands, the guy who could play the standards and play along and do the stuff and then jump into some gut bucket ass blues.
Right. Once the old people left.
The old people, like, so once they played all that stuff and they played all the hits, you know, and we did all that stuff and did celebration. Have a good time. Come on.
Right.
Played September, all those things.
Sure.
People want to hear the blues. And they turn to me and say, Keb Mo, come on out here. And I would hit B.B. King and just turn it into like a whole different thing. So that's why. So I got known as the blues guy.
Right.
So when I got a call one day from a guy named, who I still know, who actually his name is Shabaka Henley. He was doing a play, and he's a character actor. You see him on TV a lot, in movies and things. He said, I'm doing a play down at the LA Theater Center. I'm doing this play, and I need somebody that can play the blues, guitar player that can play the blues.
In the play?
Yeah. Now, I had never played acoustic blues.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And he said, but Robert Johnson's thing, it came out, the box set, it came out, you know, and it was moving. So I asked him, I said, well, what is it? He said, I got your name from somebody said, they said, you the blues guy.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm the blues guy. Sure. Why not?
Now, 2 weeks earlier than that, I had heard Big Bill Broonzy and really Robert Johnson for the first time, probably 2 weeks ago after I heard that. And I was freaked out. I said, what the fuck is that? How did I miss that? You know, when I heard the real, like, on the porch in Mississippi, getting down after working hard and just, you know, That's what Monk Hagen was talking about. You trying to make it all pretty.
You're right. It was clear what he meant it by that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that Robert Johnson record with that animated cover, that drawn cover of him in the back, and he's got the guitar. I wore that one out. That was just, what a stunning discovery that was.
So when Shabaka called me, this is my entrance into what Keb Mo will eventually can become. Now we're adding the pieces of what I need to really be well-rounded in the blues. I asked him a few questions about how long, when the play started. I had 30 days to get ready for rehearsal. And then there was a 30-day rehearsal period for the play.
Wow.
So, okay, I got 60 days before I have to do this on stage. So I said, okay, I can do it. He hired me on the phone.
No kidding. By the way, if you'll forgive me for asking, were any of these dates, were the rehearsals paid? Any of that time paid, or were you just?
Yeah, the rehearsals were paid. They were paid.
Oh, good.
Entrance into the Delta Blues and acoustic blues was paid for by LA Theater Center and the Mark Taper Forum.
How about that?
Right after that, I got a gig understudying the guy that should have had the gig I had in the Rabbit's Foot because he wasn't available.
Oh, no kidding.
So I understudied him. I just produced a record on him. His name is Chick Street Man. I just produced a record on him. And it was with George C. Wolfe, the famous director,
Yeah.
And so I auditioned for George C. Wolfe, and I'm just right off the Rabbit Foot. I think it was still going on. So I had to audition for him. I'm still a little green, but I auditioned, and Chick vouched for me. He said, go ahead and hire him. He'll do it. I was oozing. By that time, I'm oozing with ambition. I'm like, I'm going.
You're ready.
I'm ready. And I got paid $700 a week to be an understudy. And all I did was every day I came down, ready to go on if I have to, and played Robert Johnson and all this the whole time while the play was going on, while watching the play. And then after that was, then once I had done all my stuff, I would put take six on.
Yes, amen to that.
Man, so I got through that. I never had to go on, but I learned, and I learned a lot in those 4 months. And then I got called again and again, 2 more times. I got called to do it in San Diego, called Spunk. A guy came in, Harvell's, and he hired me. So I went down to San Diego and I did Spunk. And then while doing Spunk, they needed another guy in a show in San Diego at the Old Globe Theater to play in this Hank Williams play called Lost Highway. So I played the part of they had created named Willie, because they could never find a Rufus T. Todd Payne that could play the guitar.
Oh, right, sure.
So Rufus T. Todd Payne is so I'm learning all this history about blues, and I got to work with George C. Wolfe as an understudy. So when he's out there giving notes and giving these profound things about archetypes and just characters and how to present yourself on the stage, right. And their notes, and they're all New York. They're all New York clan that came out,
Right. But so your ears are wide open when
I'm getting notes from George C. Wolfe.
Yeah, man.
About these things.
Yeah.
And so now I got called again for San Diego, and it was directed by a guy named Tom Jones, not the Tom Jones.
Right.
So and I got to do it again. And then so I spent like 4 months in San Diego doing theater. And in the theater, you learn all this backstory because they have the dramaturgs. Because you got to have your actors have to have their backstories and they have to know
to play the characters effectively, right?
So me as a guitar player, they threw me in like an actor.
Right.
So you got to know who you are.
Right.
On that stage.
Wonderful.
Not like musicians where you just go, okay, here's your paper, play.
Yes.
Yes.
You're a character. You have a part.
So theater was very, very good for me in terms of my learning and my development.
Wow.
And so I went back to, after all that was done, and I remember I had my record deal, and I went back and did it again. I was doing my record up to like, the last theater I did was I got signed for, my record was doing good. It's just about to come out. And I'd done all this touring and made no money. First year, no, you don't get no money for, I was wishing for my Harvell's gig because actually,
right.
So I did that, and I took a gig at the Hartford stage, Harvard Repertory, Harvard stage is called.
The one in Hollywood?
No, Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut.
Oh, Hartford, Connecticut. Sorry.
Yeah, they called me, and the guy that called me, he came to the bottom line. His name is Reggie Montgomery, and he passed a long time ago. He was an actor, and he came because they had a hard time finding guys like me that could do that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They had a hard time finding it because they needed it to be black.
Right. Absolutely. I get it. It's a part. It's a role.
So he came to the bottom line. He saw me playing, and I walked out the bottom line doing my sound check, and Reggie's out there. He going, "Hey man, what's up, Kevin?" He says, Kevin, I need you to do this play for me in Harvard. I got it. I'm directing this play, and I need to, And I said, "Fuck, in Connecticut, actors need work,
Sure.
And he said, I need you. I said, man, I don't think I can do it now, originally. He said, he looked at me in the most desperate look in his eye. He said, Kevin, I need you to do this for me, And I see, and in that moment, he just talked me into it because I wanted to do it. This was theater. I said, yeah, okay, I'll do it.
He made you an offer you couldn't refuse.
Yeah, and I did it, man. And I got one last dose of that good old theater, man.
Right.
Put me,
Yeah, of course.
There. And man, it was just really cool. So from that point on, man, I just, and this conversation is very enlightening because I was just telling about my manager this morning. I was asking her, like, can you get me out of doing interviews?
Well, this is a thrilling conversation, I'm telling you. These are great lessons for all of us.
This conversation, above any I've had for a long time, really make me feel how fortunate I am and how just lucky to be in the circumstances that I was. One day, if we ever do this again, I'm gonna tell you about all my screw ups.
That'll be part 2.
There's a lot of them.
Well, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you.
What an honor. Thank you so much. You killed it on the Be Positive theme, man.
Oh, thanks.
Man,
we didn't. Should we talk about that? We could.
Yeah, cherry on top, man.
Let's talk about. Okay, so you have a new television theme that you wrote and sang.
I wrote it along with Chuck Lorre, and I wrote it together.
You, Chuck Lorre, producer of 2.5 Men, also a guitar player in himself.
Yes.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
Now that we're on this subject, what's in your current future?
I was awarded the Harmony Award by the Nashville Symphony.
Oh.
So I got to do this beautiful thing at the Schermerhorn Theater, the Symphony Hall here in Nashville, with a small ensemble of acoustic piano, bass, drums, really light, and violin.
Oh. Doing your music or doing?
Right, doing my stuff. I just did my stuff. The orchestra's down.
Oh, of course. Yeah, right.
But it's to benefit the orchestra. And I'm working on my new album I'm going to co-produce along with Vince Gill. Working on that. And yeah, so I mean, it's really, really cool.
Well, bless you, my friend, and have a great day, and I appreciate your time.
Tom Scott's Podcast Express is produced by Dave Schroeder and Joseph Vella. If you like the Podcast Express, tell your friends, write a review, and subscribe to the series on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other fine podcast directories. Tom Scott's Podcast Express uses Blue microphones and Zoom Corporation audio recorders. Tom Scott plays R.S. Berkeley musical instruments and Jody Jazz mouthpieces. For more information or to ask Tom a question, visit tomscottmusic.com. Until next time,